They hide the truth beneath a mountain of lies. But the fire inside us can't be buried forever.
They pile up falsehoods, burying our cries. One by one we dig where the evidence lies. Nesters in the shadows, piecing every clue, shining light on secrets that they never wanted you to view. Smoke and mirrors crumble under our gaze. We won't back down, we're done with their maze. The ops unravel, media feeding gloom. Kids didn't deserve to die, their story needs room. No proof, no confession, plea deals won't suffice. We're taking back possession of the one thing that's right. Truth phoenix rising from the ashes of their lies. Fireballs ready to drop across the looted skies. We'll lift the veil, ignite the spark of justice bright. Stand case by case and bring the truth to light. Whispers in the corridors, they thought we'd look away, but every hidden thread unravels when we slay their charade. No more spin from their headlines, no more silence cries. We're the voice of those forgotten, watch their empire collide. Truth's a phoenix feather rising in the flames. We'll trace every lead, break their iron chains. Oh, break their iron chains! Phoenix rising, watch us light the sky. Truth the weapon they can never justify. One case at a time, we claim what's ours to fight. Rising up together, set the world alight.
This is just the beginning. The Phoenix will never stop rising.
Can you guys hear me now? Testing, testing, testing. I just saw there's no audio. Okay, so let me welcome you all in, and let me go ahead and restart what I said earlier in the live. Somebody asked me where they could send me a tip, and it is at Cash App $ Phoenix Talk, and that is my Cash App. Well, I welcome every single one of you in this morning. I am going to give you some suggestions for this fall weather. And if you have something that you want to drop below or give somebody else, it doesn't have to cost any money for fall outings with the family. Today is October the 20th, 2025, and you're going to get a different stream today from me. Yes, I will talk about the Idaho 4 at the end to use as a live example. But this morning we are talking about digging live, what's really out there on the internet. And you are going to enjoy this stream, probably more than I am, but I'm happy to share what I know. So one thing that doesn't cost money in this fall beautiful weather is getting cooler, is to go pumpkin picking. Go to a pumpkin patch local. Yeah, you can go to the grocery store. I highly recommend go to a pumpkin patch. Find one in your local area. If you don't have one, search an internet. Search, ask your neighbors, ask anyone. Do you know of any local resources? One, doesn't cost any money to go explore the fall foliage. Go on a walk, a hike, and if you even get the chance, go apple picking, right? Take a bike ride through a trail. Go to a fall festival. You can get your kids, family, friends, go out for a day of hay rides, pumpkin picking, haunted houses, all the local foods, entertainment, caramel apples. You can even take a tour of a winery or like a local brewery. If you're obviously adults, you can take a haunted road trip. We used to grab the kids and we would go and we'd get hot cocoa or something, and then we drive through neighborhoods and look at all the lights, all the decorations. Football's a great sport this time of year, especially I love college ball. You can have just a potluck, gather some friends and some family. And I used to put on the stove just a pan of water with a few apple slices and a cinnamon stick, a real cinnamon stick, and throw that on there, and that make the house smell so good. Besides making Halloween costumes and drinking spice lattes, especially the pumpkin. I think I'm going to make some pumpkin spice bread this week. You can always roast marshmallows, make s'mores, decorate the house for fall, watch scary movies, host a potluck. There's so many things to do. Plant fall flowers. It is the best time of year right now. So I want to welcome everyone in. Critic Rick, you've been here for quite a while. As always, OG in the house. Good afternoon, Caleb. I hear you. Busy. Amanda, so glad that you were able to join us. Lulu Bell, thank you so much for being here. An OG in the house. True to It Connections, welcome in. Donna Rosa, welcome in. Hello, lovely people. Eyes wide open, no talkie before coffee. Welcome. I'm glad everyone can hear me now. Team Rivet, welcome in. Inked Mawama. Hey, Nesters. All right, I got it. We don't hear you. Oh, that's painful. Dislocated shoulder. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just hope that every cell in alignment in your bones and in your ligaments and in your tendons would come into alignment with healing. And I know that you will feel better after it repairs. So I am so sorry. Babby B, welcome in the house. Or Babby B. Phoenix, I know can you hear me now? Testing, hopefully. No, you don't need to restart. I'm here. Still no audio. You hear me now? One? Yay! Okay, yeah, you guys hear me. Okay, good. I probably should have looked at the chat before I just went off because, Monday mornings. Welcome from Florida. P.S. We need your help. What help do you need? Okay, celebrate Halloween with your family. Apple picking is a good one. Yes, patches. My son loved to go to pumpkin patches, just being out in the cooler weather. And he used to stand in line for those little donuts they serve. Hey, Nesters, welcome in. Phoenix, I would, but too many psychos out there, especially in Ohio. Well, I hear ya. Ohio's a kind of odd state, guys. I love going to the cider mill and picking out pumpkin with my child. Ooh, a cider mill. Boy, you are lucky. Wherever you are, enjoy that. That's for sure. Give me the munchies, Phoenix. I guess I better travel. Hey, Lisa, welcome in. My pal Sal Vintage, welcome in. Welcome in. Absolutely. Healing prayers for True to It. All right, welcome in. If this is your first stream with me, welcome in. I'm glad to have you. And like I said, if you're trolling, just be quiet. That's the best way to troll. I was talking to PS from Spokane. Gotcha. Hikes are great, especially when the leaves are changing. Absolutely. That fall foliage is absolutely beautiful. Whoa. Let me take a deep breath. Whew. Okay, let's get started. Let's get on the roll. So like I said, I'm going to talk a little off script today because we're going to dig into the open internet live. And I'm going to use it as an example. But first, I'm going to tell you a few things about digging. And it's not typically investigating. If you're going to investigate legally, make sure that you're working underneath a private investigator's license because that is legal, or you have applied and received your own. And in some states, you really don't even have to have an investigator's license. But anyone in the world can investigate anything they want publicly. Okay? That's the fine line. If you are a private investigator and you are licensed or working under a licensed investigator, which is typically someone who has been in law enforcement, either retired or perhaps somebody not in law enforcement, and that's just the route they wanted to go in doing their career. It's awesome. So if you are working under someone, you can privately investigate, which is a little bit different from what I'm talking about in our subject today. So this is designed for those who are interested in finding out factual information publicly only, because you want to make sure you don't blur the lines. If you find anything out privately that is not public information, please never share that. We are not here at Phoenix Talks to teach you how to do that. That is not the intention. And this is for educational purposes. Digging is a way to research and verify. It is not doxing. Okay, I'll repeat. Digging, that is researching and verifying, is not doxing. There is a set of ethics. Every quote investigator, whether you're a mom investigator, PI mom, whatever you want to call yourself, we can all be investigators in the sense we want to verify facts. If you are more logical, you want to make sure you see it in writing. You want to make sure that you have evidence and proof and receipts. Receipts are gold. Now, when I say that, I want every single one of you, even on the replay crew watching this, understand that doxing is illegal. You could be legal in the court of law, sued for doxing somebody. Okay, so does anybody want to take a guess at what doxing is? I'll wait for the chat to catch up. Yes, everyone's getting a free lesson because I have had so many people ask. And don't forget, if you want to tip your host, there is my Cash App. So I want to explain very clearly. What do you think right now, without me saying anything, what is doxing to you? Okay, great. These are some great answers. Yes, Wicca Wicca. Whoop whoop. Personal info, libel, disclosing home addresses, giving out an address, non-public info, revealing personal info be released. Here is probably the best answer out of all these answers that I've seen. Doxing is the act of publicly revealing personal, identifiable information about an individual or an organization without their consent. And it's usually with malicious intent. This can include sensitive details such as legal names, home addresses, phone numbers, and other private information. And obviously, this term originated from the practice of collecting documents, DOCS, about someone that has involved to encompass various forms of online harassment. That's basically what a term doxing is. Okay. And you know what? Let me tell you what the legal term of doxing is. The legal term of doxing is almost the same thing I just told you. Okay. But in the United States, an example of doxing is actually considered a form of harassment or intimidation, even blackmail. And these individuals that are doxed can take civil action against those who publish their private information without their permission. So it can be in many states a felony, and it carries, if you share personal data with the intent of intimidation or harassment, or it hinders your work ability or your income, the maximum penalty can be 2 years sentence and a large fine of about $25,000 to $30,000. Okay. So what exactly does that mean? Well, let me look at some of these answers. What about a phone scam? Unless they've already disclosed, yes, that is intent. Yes, absolutely correct. And you bring a really good point, Cricket Moon. So let's use this for an example. Let's say you have someone's name. Okay. Let's say you went to school with someone and you have their name and you just go and you look them up on, the internet. That is not doxing. If you can find, and I'll give you an example, if you can find anybody on a public forum or a public social media or some professional website, some, just something simple like this. I'm just going to use this instead. So in the Idaho floor, there were subpoenaed information released to the public. That became public information. Now, if you have an idea and you have a name and you go and look at that name and you can find that name in a, public database, that is not doxing. Now, sometimes in social media on different platforms, if you share an address, they will take down your post or your video or whatever because of the fact that it is personal information. Typically, you shouldn't share that personal information, even if you found it. Now, if you found it privately and you share that, that is doxing. There's a huge difference between the two. So if it's out there publicly, I'm not sharing this person's address or anything like that, but if it's out there publicly, you can share that information. So in the case where KF was not Candy Floria, who actually works with the ISP, and the affidavit showed that she was served actually in Ada County, not Canyon County, sorry. She was actually served in Ada County. Then obviously that is not Candy Floria. And in that document, if you've watched the video, there's no possible way that two college students would be walking with somebody who worked for the ISP living in Ada County, which is about 5.5, 6 hours away. That's logic. There's no connection there. So that would be something publicly that is available to share in any shape, or form, because the information was already made public by the court. You can go look them up and say, well, would two individuals be walking with? No, absolutely not. And that is an example. Okay. So when you're digging on the internet and you're looking, you definitely don't want to dox anybody. So let's say that you go by another name on the internet and you share your picture, and someone comes across a picture that was shared, let's say 7, 8, 10 years ago on the internet. And then now they say, oh, I know your real name and I'm going to share it everywhere. Do you think, in your humble opinion, is that doxing? If you have never shared your name at all, is that doxing? Some people are worth getting sued over. Just kidding. Funny, funny, funny. Do you think that that's doxing if somebody doesn't want to put their real name out there, and they found a picture of you, let's say in your high school yearbook, and they put 2 and 2 together and was like, whoa, that's so and so, but you've never found anything publicly other than, let's say, a yearbook? That's questionable. If it's just a name, correct, it's still malicious, and it could be hindering stalking. If that is with malicious intent to put somebody's picture out there from their yearbook with their name and then letting everybody else connect the dots, that could be malicious. If your intention is to do it with malice, absolutely. So we're in the like mind here, right? We're going down rabbit holes in digging and what is doxing right now if you just popped in here. So here's the set of ethics. If you are curious to verify information, only public info should be shared, and you should always have receipts. Always. So I was going to ask you what's one topic you want to do a live dig on, but let's get the gist of the basics here. So we could pick a topic like mystery cases, vanished websites, AI footprints, and I'll give you a demonstration live at the end how to search, filter, but the most important part is verify, okay? So, what's one thing that you have gone in a rabbit hole in digging, couldn't make a connection, but just blew your mind? What's one eerie thing that you found? Anything at all? What's one eerie thing that you found? Have you stumbled across maybe identifying a missing person, or perhaps maybe somebody who was, I don't know, kidnapping kids or anything of that nature? Any one eerie find? And if you don't have anything, that's fine. I'm sure some of you in the true crime community would be like, whoa, I found a lot of stuff, right? Yes, save everything you come across, because some things can be scrubbed. This is a great one, Ken. Who killed the Idaho 4 students? Absolutely. Yeah, I saw Kaylee's sister, and we were going to talk about that in the middle of the show. It could be outside of this case. Absolutely. That's one thing. Yep. The rabbit hole of the connection of 1122 King Road LLC. Absolutely. Owner, management companies, and the connections. Wow, Wicca Wicca. That's crazy. If this was your first case, welcome in. Yeah, it's wild. I will tell you. And here's how to spot misinformation. Okay? And we can go a little deep in this. It depends on how long or how deep you want to go into this. But let's break it down. How do you spot misinformation? There's a few red flags, and you can use some tools out there on the internet that would help you. But here's 3 things that I find helpful. Reused images And sometimes that can be a red flag. The second one is date mismatches. Dates are so important. So freaking important. And I'll show you some archive tricks. Okay, so reused images are so important. There are websites out there that you can use to do reverse image search, or who's, it's WHOIS, Whois lookup. Those are two. I mean, how do you normally spot or verify news or social post? I mean, if you kind of come across something and you question it, how do you typically verify if it's true or not? Amanda, you are so funny. That is hilarious. Okay, so how do you spot news or social posts? Sometimes I'll go to the source, right? I'll look at it and I'll say, this just doesn't sound right. How can you verify? Go to reputable sources. And this is a little catch 22 right now, because we live in a digital age where we don't know if something's true or not. I usually check myself first and I say, what does my gut intuition tell me about a post? 9 out of 10 times I'm pretty spot on, but I make mistakes, right? You can go and verify 3 simple ways. You can go to Google, right? No talkie before coffee. You can go to reputable sources like Reuters, or I want to say New York Times, kind of iffy on that. But there are some ways to verify truth, right? Because truth doesn't hide unless it gets buried by noise, right? So sometimes you hear a story and you're thinking, could this be an actual true story? Is this legit? Then you use your spidey senses and start to dig. Okay. I mean, what's one way that you verify sources? And I'm telling you from a perspective, I'm not going to go dig on every single case. But if something doesn't sound right to me and it's got a big exposure, I'll be like, wait, something doesn't make sense here. One way is court repositories. Court repositories. If you were reading something in a local newspaper or something come across your feed and you're like, wait, that sure sounds like something's been twisted, you can always go to a court repository, right? You can go and look at court documents, especially in the world of crime, in the crime community. Definitely go look at the documents. If you don't know how to look at the documents, that's going to be more advanced type of stream that I'll do. Yeah, you can do background checks, but remember, some of those background check companies do have a policy where if something is private, you're not to share it unless you can find it publicly. So I have a lot of databases that I have access to, that if you do have access to databases like that, there is a lot of private information you need to be very careful with. If you can find that private information on a public source, then you can share that public sourced information. Don't share the private stuff. Okay? Definitely don't share the private stuff. Okay? So that's one way you can verify information. Absolutely. And the deeper you get into digital web and digital ghost, if you know what I'm talking about, if you know, this is where we dig deeper into archives, deleted pages, metadata. Those digital ghost, especially metadata, I'm going to save for another stream, but if you go to the Wayback Machine or archives, deleted pages, you can go, and I'll show you real quick. This is going to be the Wayback Machine, right? Some people use the Wayback Machine. It's an internet archive. Let me just throw this up on my screen. It's a digital archive. And in the Wayback Machine, this is pretty standard. And you can go and you can search for, let me see. Oh, this is a really good one in the Idaho 4. I was looking for the company called Midnight Burger, right? We were looking for a cup that was Midnight Burger, right? We were looking for anything, search context, newspapers, old captions, and we found it in a dining magazine from, gosh, the early 80s to the 90s. And this is a way to go back in documents and look for ads, anything of that nature. So, Midnight Burger was a joint in California that we thought somebody in California had left their cup in the Idaho 4 pictures of the recent newly released photos from the ISP. So I think we found something California, something like that in some magazine. And this is a way to use the Wayback Machine, right? These are local pamphlets that you can go back, and this was a 2023 journal, and you can go back and you can look at the ads. Okay, I found Judy Davis Insurance Services. You may not be able to find her on the web today, but the Wayback Machine is very helpful to find things of this nature, right? There was an October 5th event, 2023, and this is where it was held. And to verify sources, okay? Just like last week when Stacy Chapin said that there was an accident on I-5, well, she didn't say specifically I-5, but in order to travel the route she went, it was actually I-5. She didn't say I-5, but we found it, and we found that there was no accident, but there was an accident the week before. So those are things to say, especially social media that has been deleted. Now, it's a little more difficult when somebody puts their account on private, right? Somebody just brought up, I have a lot, the digital ghost have a lot to say, especially when so much media and other info was deleted. Absolutely. No, I'm not talking about people who put their accounts on private. Okay. Cynthia, my email is right in my bio, and it is phoenixinvestigates@proton.me. The Wayback Machine is way handy if you have like 20 minutes to an hour to just play around in the Wayback Machine. You would be surprised at what you find in the Wayback Machine. You can go software, images. There is so much information that you can put out there. There's 5,303,000 results. So if I go Midnight Burger, and let me take out 2022, and I just do Midnight Burger, it might give me something of that nature, right? It may or may not. So you have to, this was some McDonald's characters or something. So it just depends on what you're looking for. So when you think of, Wayback Machine or deleted metadata, things of that nature, and I'm not going to get into metadata that's a little bit more advanced. I'm trying to keep this really basic for this stream, just to understand how you would verify. And you know what? Some people, this is a really good point, True to It Connections. As a journalist, what we used to do, boots on the ground. Absolutely. If you are local, that is your first and foremost. But if you can't, phone calls are next. Solid info with multiple sources is always good. But if you're just like at a high level, 10,000 foot level, trying to see if someone said something that's accurate or verifiable, that's easy. But if you are like really reporting on a story, you want to be boots on the ground. You want to definitely have resources. Absolutely. And we're not talking about investigative journalism here. We're just, which a lot of people don't even investigate anymore. They sit behind a prompter and they're told what to say. And sometimes they don't even verify their sources. Absolutely. I'd agree. Let's see. Last night I was taken aback from Outcast showing us one creator's video share. So to wake up to this live today is special. I feel so blessed and super lucky, the most excited about it. Oh, you are so sweet. You are absolutely sweet. I appreciate you guys. You know, having a stream like this, I think it's so important because this is how you spot misinformation. But not only is it to spot it, it's to stop it. I think there is enough creators out there feeding us a whole bunch of bullshit nonsense. I don't know what their goal is in doing it, but they're spewing information out there that's not factual, not actual, not truthful, and it actually hurts individuals. And I don't understand why they do it. I found an old ad from 1973 ownership of my restaurant. Aggie, that is so freaking cool. That is absolutely okay. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. You can share my email, Amanda B. That's fine. I remember BCK posted coordinates just north of South. See, now here's something that I'm confused about because alleged Brian Koberger didn't post anything online other than the Reddit survey from DeSalis. That was proven to be his email. The other stuff that was proven not to be his email after he was arrested, they tracked him down all the way to Florida, posting Reddit surveys that were not him. So, I mean, those were in the documents and in the records. So I don't know if he ever had any type of social media other than email addresses. So I guess it depends on, what you're talking about. I've never seen any postings. Ask my voodoo tea dollies, tarot cards, and magic 8-ball. Okay, Ken. I do. Do you do tea leaf readings live? Oh, BLK. Okay, got it. Use wrong initials. Okay, so I didn't even know that BLK used coordinates in images that included his eye. Brent Kopaka. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing those. I remember, checking that out. But do we know if that was really his digital media? Do we know that? Is there any verified information that that was his media? And see, that's where you have to draw the line. You look at someone's account and say, is this that person? Yeah. It seems not any journalist knocked on my doors in Idaho. I don't know, but there was a journalist in this case that he was really good. He was an ex-cop, and they surely ran him out of town really fast. What was that guy's name? He was an ex-detective. He was a reporter. Gosh, I can't remember what his name was, but it seems like they've scrubbed a lot of his info, and they ran him out of town from what I understand, allegedly. They ran this guy out of town. He was a reporter on the scene early on, and I can't remember what news station he was with, but they sure ran him out of town. And I've even done some really, really hard digging and still have not found. Some of his videos were on YouTube. Let me see if I can find any, just to show you his face, because let's see. His reporter. I hope you guys know who I was talking about. The reporter was really good, and he was like, why haven't they done this and why haven't they done that? And it kind of made me think they were trying to shut him up. And then he got ran out of town, allegedly. Let me see if I can find his name. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. AP and Reuters, yeah, definitely. Blend into the crowd, never to be found, the hidden truth. Absolutely. That's a really great point. Okay, so Hydrant has eyes, says Wicca Wicca, replying to her. I need to proofread my post better, but I truly wonder if BLK was trying to tell us he knew one of the perps was from California. And that could be possible. I mean, anything is possible in this case. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys. He seems to be a great journalist, but he sticks to the narratives. That's what he's paid for. He gets out and talks to people, but he's still paid to push the narrative. He's not reading these court documents either. I guarantee you, there is no possible way he could be reading these court documents and thinking, why am I still pushing this narrative? Absolutely. So let me do this. Let's just see one real quick. Oh, yeah. Destiny Martin. That's a really good one. Yeah, I'd have to agree. He walks on the fine line. Yeah, they don't want a reputable reporter in Moscow. I can't remember that guy's name. Does anyone remember? Andrew. No, he was a African American man, and he was questioning the narrative. Yeah, and I've noticed this go on this weekend with the new documents that came out. That is a good point. So let me go over one more thing real quick, and let's just make sure that we're following the general gist of digging into something, right? So always stay ethical, public info only, educational purposes only, because even if some source is giving you a load of BS, you're going to be able to verify it. Never share it. Never take anyone at their word, especially when you're working on a case. If you can verify it and have receipts, then that's exactly what you want to share, right? Digital AI footprints are important. We'll talk about that in another stream. But here's the gist of it. Don't dox, just research and verify. And never spread misinformation. Now, anything that you can verify is factual, right? Anything that you can research that proves your research or your theory correct, always share it. You can discuss, things like I found something in the Wayback Machine or something deleted, or I took screenshots earlier and now they've put their profiles on social media private. Those are things that they try to hide, right? The truth doesn't just hide, it gets buried under the noise. And most of the noise is all the BS that people share that aren't true. So you want to detect bias before sharing. I never talk to any of the sources of anyone involved in any crime. And that's just me. I do not want to be involved in any way, but I will go down the rabbit hole and look for the truth versus the illusion of the truth, like a digital detective, right? I mean, you can call yourself a digital detective. There's nothing wrong with that. Or a digital investigator, because you are investigating the digital facts, right? Is it real or faked? Was that your first instinct? Spotting misinformation in the wild is easy, guys. It is really easy. Ask yourself if something is edited, or do you think that's the original? You can ask an AI tool. Some of those things are really easy. Even meta checkers, right? If you have a picture and you go check the metadata checkers are out there. Have you ever been fooled by a viral image before? I know I have. Absolutely fooled. But now that you know, emotional manipulation in these cases are huge. And that's obviously anger, fear, outrage. It equals viral fuel. It's fuel, gas on the fire, guys. They don't want you to know. This changes everything. Experts agree without sources, by the way. And those are common words that they use. They are echo chambers versus confirmation bias, right? Spot the trigger words. Those are just a few of them that I wrote down. And false narratives and stories, they travel fast. If they have high views, and you're wondering how did their video get such high views, they are probably part of the problem. They are spreading misinformation. I used to check Snopes. I'm not in agreement with Snopes, but you could use the Wayback Machine. I think it's more accurate than Snopes. And always cross-check, not I'm thinking of a car, and share only truth, because a lie travels faster than light, but truth leaves a permanent mark. I wrote that down as a quote a long time ago. And instead of Friday fact check, we're going to do Monday fact checks, especially over the weekend. I start thinking, what did I see this weekend that I could check to see if it's actually factual? So when a headline says fake news, they're not going to title it fake news, right? They're not going to title fake news. They're going to make you have a hook that's like, oh my gosh, I've got to read this. I believe this 100%. And everything I'm telling right now is to protect you, not just a reader or consumer or digger or digital detective or digital investigator. It's for you to protect you, because it can be an emotional pull when we see a story such as the Idaho 4. Absolutely. So let's do this. I'm going to dig and I'm going to grab that real quick. I want to watch this video that was sent to me by Amanda. Thank you so much. Let's watch this video real quick and let's see exactly what this has to be shared. Hold on. Let me throw it up on the screen. Let's take a look at this real quick, because I'm interested. I haven't watched it yet. It was sent to me this morning, and I want to see if I can get this a little bit bigger. And let's watch this.
Really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I just finished a long conversation with Olivia Gonzalez. She, of course, is Kaylee Gonzalez's sister. Kaylee Gonzalez is one of the victims from the Idaho murders. And I wanted to talk to Olivia because I knew that she just recently had a meeting with prosecutors from her sister's case and also police, trying to find out information about exactly what happened. She wanted to know pretty much everything. And so in this conversation, I talked to Olivia about that meeting, what that was like for her. You can imagine how emotional it was, and also just how she's doing right now. I mean, I've always had such respect for her and for her parents. I've known them since the beginning of this whole nightmare for them. So I want to share this conversation with you, and I want you guys to hear what Olivia had to say.
Olivia, it's good to see you as always. Thank you for talking with me. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of people want to know how you're doing. A lot of people haven't really heard from you since right after the sentencing and your just really impactful victim impact statement, which it's almost been 3 months now. So I just wanted to start off asking sort of like how you're doing.
Yeah, it's always good to see you too. I think it's hard every single year when the seasons start changing and it starts getting colder. It's like your body remembers. So the seasons changing is hard. Then the daylight savings is really, really hard. And then kind of inching up to that date. And it was just a really, really heavy year, and kind of took a lot emotionally from us because it was a lot of preparatory work to get to trial. Just for it to go to plea deal so quickly, and then everything after that just happened, so fast. So there's a little bit of a whiplash aspect, and then just a lot of, almost the come down from this, emotional hardening I almost had to do to kind of prepare myself for trial. But overall, we're doing okay. We've taken some next steps. Kaylee and Maddie are in their forever urns now, which was a huge step that we hadn't been able to do before. And we're finally able to kind of try to get some of those answers that we've been craving and put together, this picture, this story in our minds, and hopefully, be able to make some sense of what happened, because we were locked out of that information for so long.
Yeah, and I had dinner with your parents the other night when I was in Idaho, and they mentioned to me, "Oh, Olivia is going to meet with the prosecutor." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And they were like, "Yeah, she's going by herself." I'm like, "She's going by herself? Like that's so intense." So I know you flew to Idaho. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, so that was October 6th. And I, uh, I, I love my parents, but I am an adult too. And it's difficult for me to kind of be a grieving sister in the room with them because I let their grief overshadow mine, right? They're grieving parents. They lost a daughter. I hope to God I never know what that feels like. But sometimes it makes it difficult for me to find a place in the room. So it was important for me to be able to, kind of be able to dictate and to get answers that I'm really looking for. Not help my dad or help my mom or play this like weird median that I would often play in these prosecutor meetings. So yeah, I met with members of the prosecution team and a member of the Moscow Police Department who was an investigator, as well as the Idaho State Police, an investigator from the Idaho State Police.
And so you just went by yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I'm shaking. Yeah, I went by myself. I had my attorney there. She's a local Latah attorney and who was just kind of helping me with the documents as they're coming out to be able to make sure that we all get those. But yeah, it was a really traumatizing meeting. But it was a necessary step for me to be able to basically be hurt behind closed doors so that I could manage my expectations going forward. Yeah, I'm not sure if I totally answered you there. I'm sorry.
No, you did. So is it just, I'm just trying to like, I guess, visualize it. Do you just go into like a conference room and it's you and then Bill Thompson and Idaho State Police just all sitting there basically?
Yeah. So it was a conference room at the Idaho State Police District 2 quarters in Lewiston, Idaho. I drove down early in the morning from my parents' house in Rathdrum, Idaho. And it was, me on one side of the table and them on the other. And I really wanted it to be an open-ended conversation where the investigators were kind of able to provide me how it kind of unfolded for them, because I've never really gotten their opinions. I've never really heard their thoughts on it. I've never, really humanized them in a way to understand what it looked like for them, because this was their life day in and day out for 7 weeks and then after. And yeah, it was nice to hear that real human aspect of them and kind of what it looked like from the inside out, because I had only had the perspective of being on the outside.
What is she talking about? I mean, seriously. She sat down. Let me just put this together for a minute so I can understand. This is the first time we're watching this. We're watching this together on this stream. So she sat down with prosecutors, and now she's in a different place. I get that. But now she's in a different place. She's trying to understand what all these documents are. They never had her dialed in because they didn't have to deal with her. It was only the parents. And the parents weren't asking these questions, or the prosecutors weren't working with her parents because they hired an attorney and they were skeptical of the real story. And it seems to me that when she's speaking, it's like she just learned the truth that Brian perhaps is innocent. Question mark. Is that what she's talking about? That's really odd. That's really strange. And then she sat down with Brian Enton to talk about this. So let me I'm going to speed it up just a little bit so we can get through as much as we can without missing the point.
Were you able to get any of your questions answered?
Yeah, a lot of the questions that I had were answered. Doesn't mean that more won't come up as more comes out, but I was very satisfied at the end of the meeting with, I mean, as satisfied as you can be. We're not talking about, a recipe here. At the end of the day, it's still murder, and it's still the death of, my sister. So there's not really positivity there. And I don't even want to say that there's closure, but I do think that it helped me immensely to be able to have these pieces put together for me to help me make sense and understand what happened in my head.
Were they able to tell you any more about, I guess like one of the questions I've always just still had and still think about is like motive and why those kids, why that house? Like, were there any, I don't want to say theories, but did they have any more insight into that?
So not necessarily, and maybe it's because the why it's never kept me up at night. I've never cared about the why. So that wasn't really something that I pushed them for. I will say when you look at the cast data and the 23 different occasions that he was at the house, they don't all line up with just one person. So it's not like he was only ever there when, Kaylee was. They're very random and they're very sporadic, which to me made more sense because I was always confused when they said someone was targeted, then maybe the house was targeted, then no, someone was targeted. And it almost made more sense to me knowing this, thinking maybe it really was the location, right? Maybe it really.
Okay, I just have to stop here. When she just said she saw the cast data and there had to have been more than one person, yeah. And I know, in my humble opinion, alleged, it did not take place at 1122 King Road. Logic tells me, after watching Gunderson's canvassing and all the surveillance, the actual crime did not, in my humble opinion, take place at 1122. It could have been somewhere else, and more than one person.
Was more of a non-specific that became a specific because we know that he went directly to the third floor. But maybe it was more so just, a vantage point looking out, inside from the out that he found particularly interesting or something. But again, that why it's never bothered me. For me, I've always known that the why would never make sense.
So what were you hoping to get out of the meeting, I guess? Like, was there something specific?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I wanted to take a look at the complete surveillance footage that was put together that showed his movements from a little after 3 a.m. to 4:20, 4:30, and that's extremely comprehensive. When you see that as a full picture of the car being here, then here, then here, tracking those movements. I wanted to see the cast report and these 23 different occasions. When did they start? When did they stop? Are we talking about he was outside for 4 minutes, or are we talking about he was outside for 4 hours? And then something that really was something that was difficult for me to process was the thought of the crime scene photos leaking. So we know that there is a leak somewhere. I think it's still currently being investigated. And I basically left it up to them. And I told them, if you're confident that these photos are safe, I don't need to see anything. But if you think that there's a chance that they will leak, let me hurt myself with them right here, right now, so that I can, continue to function. Because it's really, really difficult for me, particularly, to live and maneuver in a world when I know that there's information out there that could hurt me that I just don't have access to. So those were my three main pieces of information that I was wanting to look at.
So what did they say to you when you said, if you think there's a chance that these photos would leak, I want to see them? Like, what did they say?
I don't think that with certainty they could say that they wouldn't leak. So ultimately I did wind up viewing one photo of the scene of Maddie's bedroom. Maddie was completely redacted. They offered more, but I truly didn't need to see more than the one. And it was ultimately Bill Thompson who provided that piece of saying that he couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't leak because he's not sure exactly who from the defense's side had access to them. So if he was the only one and his team, he would have been very, very confident that they'd never get out. But that unknown made him hesitant to, have the confidence that they wouldn't, leak eventually. Not that I think he's saying that they will leak. I think just in an overabundance of caution, especially considering I was there in that moment, ready, had prepared myself to see this. So yeah.
I guess I just keep thinking about you like alone there. I'm so used to seeing you with your family. But I know there's certain things I mean, I can't relate to this in any way. Like, I can't even imagine. But there are like certain things in life I feel like you just want to do alone, like that you need to process alone, just as like a single human being. You know what I mean? Like, was it like that kind of a thing?
Yeah, and I mean, my mom and dad won't even look at the photos that the city of Moscow released, months ago. That batch of 182. So we are just very, very different in that aspect. Where I kind of play this role with my mom mainly, where I can take the information and I can process it, and then she gets to come to me and just kind of pick what she wants to hear about. And so, in that capacity, uh, I guess I kind of need to have that information to be able to help, my mom or my sisters or my, brother or anything if they ever need.
Well, Caleb, she just talked about the cast data. So definitely save this. I'll screen record it, and it's being recorded here now. But she did say about the cast data, it didn't make sense. So I believe he may have not been at the 1122 King Road. And I don't think these murders took place at the 1122 King Road, in my humble opinion. And why is Brian Enton not reading these documents? Why are these folks not reading the documents on their own? Now, if I can read them and interpretate them, and hundreds of other people on these streams, thousands of other people watch these documents, I break them down very simple in layman's terms, and I'm not a professional, I'm not an attorney. I put the pieces together. How could they not be doing that? If this was my daughter that was unalived, I would be like, full steam ahead, move out of the way, FBI. I am going to find out exactly what happened on my own. I will dig for the truth if they were telling me something totally different. If they were telling me something totally different. Now, when I see conflicting stuff like this based on what we just talked about in misinformation, it makes me think the confusion is on purpose. But she just gave some information that the cast data was not adding up. And I think Olivia has an idea that something is not adding up.
Like my understanding of the full picture as completely as I could make it. And I guess that I'd rather be the one that is hurt by it, so that I can, spare them from that while still being like a source of truth about it. I'm never going to lead them astray, or but just be able to give specific details that they want to hear about, and nothing more, nothing less.
What was it like with Bill Thompson? Just because I know, you've obviously been frustrated with the prosecution in the past, and we're not pleased with the way things sort of ended with the plea deal. What was it like, sitting at a table with him?
I have no bad blood with Bill Thompson. I do truly think that he did his best. And I think in his heart, he thought what he was doing was the most good for the most amount of people who were affected by this. I think he knew that it would hurt us to take a plea deal, but I think that he deemed that unnecessary evil in order to provide good for, a lot of people who are affected by this. We can't just think about the families of the four world.
So cast data is from your cell phone. It produces data that shows your locations depending on the location of where service is. In this case, in Moscow, there was 2 main cell towers for these 2 small communities. Some can overlap. And you have to remember, technology is not perfect. I used this example a couple, maybe 10, 11 streams ago. My ex-husband, we had this little app on our phone where we could track each other. And I went to the store with my daughter, and I came back, and I went to the bank and ran some other errands. And this is what prompted the mistrust. He swore up and down I was at someone's house I didn't even know. I said, let's go over to that house. I challenge you to knock on the door and ask this person if they know me. And boy, it didn't end well. Obviously, we ended in a divorce because he did not trust me. Well, of course he didn't trust me because his first wife cheated on him. I'm not the cheating type, guys. Okay? So obviously he had an issue with mistrust, but that's what data, cast data is. And you have to be careful with this data because it is not 100% accurate. If you have someone's cell phone records, that's great. But if you have no other evidence to prove they were, beyond a shadow of a doubt, where they were at that time, let's say some accurate eyewitnesses, let's say some surveillance video, let's say something of that nature, then that's just circumstantial. It means nothing without corroborating evidence to back it up that it's true. I hope that helps. That's in my humble opinion. I'm no expert, but that's what I think it means.
Also talking about, witnesses. We're also talking about, court staff, jurors. We're changing jurors' lives by having to show them this information. So I truly think that he did what he thought was best. It wasn't good enough for us, but I'm not really sure that anything would have ever been good enough for us without getting him back. So he was fairly quiet, but it wasn't awkward or anything. I think that he has eventually come around to terms to kind of respect that, we might just kind of be abrasive, but we're not heartless, we're not mean. And, I wasn't there to pick a fight by any means.
So when you left, what did that feel like?
So initially it felt, I felt a little bit of relief, I think just because it was done and it had kind of been something that I had, once again, mentally prepared for, right? And then you get to the other side of it and now, it's done and it's over and you're excited to move on to, the next, okay? Forward movement, but fairly quickly. After this one, in the next, day or two, you're really, really just hit with the weight and the gravity.
This is what I think is bogus, okay? Miss Anonymous kind of hit the nail on the head. The FBI said they taught Payne how to do cast. You don't need an expert. You don't need to be an expert to do it. I get that. But cast data is still not everything you can go off of. You still have to have some corroborating evidence that proves that this person was seen by a witness or some surveillance footage or even perhaps some random passerby or another witness, right? Some verifiable information. But when you say this, it's also as if you think about it for a minute. I just lost my train of thought. Dang it, I hate when that happens. You don't have to be an expert. I mean, you don't. But you have to here's my thought process. It's just like with IgG. IgG that they used was investigative genealogy, genetic genealogy. Investigative part. Let's take that apart away from the genetic genealogy. They didn't investigate, in my humble opinion, properly when they were looking for the individual to line up with this X, Y, and Z. Now, if they had, they probably would have the right individual. In my humble opinion, I don't know where this Brian Koberger came up with because he's not of Italian descent. They said, Othram said specifically Italian descent. He is German descent. And there's just a whole bunch that doesn't line up in the investigation part of IgG. In this case, in my humble opinion, I'm no expert. I'm just saying.
And you're left with, me personally, I was left with more questions that I know don't have answers. Like, for example, why? And not why in the motive sense, but what? What were you even thinking? And I know that sounds so small, but there again, very specific questions that I know don't have answers. And, I'm kind of sitting here 10 days later, still greatly struggling with, the full weight of what Kaylee, just Kaylee, I didn't see anyone else, but just Kaylee had to go through.
Okay, so if she knows her sister went through this horrible thing and it's still not sitting well with her, in my humble opinion, she has to know this was not Brian Koberger. There was more than one person. And yes, the blood the perp left didn't match the sheath either. I wonder, in my humble opinion, does she now request the prosecutor to look into this further? Because what if she says, I believe there's more than one person, there's more DNA to corroborate this, and shouldn't you reinvestigate this case? I wonder if it's going to take her to be the one to reinvestigate this case, open it up for her sister, and do the right thing. I wonder if it's going to take her to do this.
Yeah, and I think just from what I know of you, like you're just always searching for answers. Like you don't really give up. Like you're just like you keep going. You know what I mean? Your dad is like that too. So maybe finding out that you're never going to get certain answers, like I would imagine that must have been hard, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely hard, especially when I am a very answer-based person, right? I have this question. 99% of the time, I can get the answer. It might take some work, but I can get there. It's difficult knowing that there's a lot of really, really painful unknowns, and you either have to let them go, which I'm never going to do, or you have to keep digging for more information until my brain can process, or create an inference to be able to answer those questions for me.
Yeah. Would you, I mean, a lot of the questions, I think, the killer is the only one who knows. Like, would you ever want information from him?
Wait a minute.
No, I'm like,
wait a minute. Why did Enton say the killer knows? Why didn't he say Brian Koberger knows? Do they both know that it's not him?
The way of a book, or not in the way of him doing a news interview or anything like that. So I guess the answer then is no, because he doesn't really have many other options. I will continue to go back to, I think that a full confession should have been included as an agreement or a condition of the plea agreement. And that is something that in this case could have happened, and I believe should have happened, but it's just one of those that we have to let go. We can't go back. So yeah, I think a lot of those answers would have been great, but I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. And I know there was a gag order and all sorts of rules, but it also makes me wonder, like, if you could have had this sort of relationship with the prosecutor and the police earlier on, and these kinds of conversations, would you have understood each other better, before all this came to an end? Would it probably be nice to have that during?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in, those last 8-9 months leading up to trial, I think we were getting there finally. But yeah, it's difficult when the conversation's always the same, and it's always us frustrated with the lack of information, us trying to make sense of it, them sticking to the gag order, getting frustrated that we're still pushing it, that we're still asking these questions, and the material is inherently frustrating, right? But so it takes a while to get to a point where I understand Bill Thompson a little bit more, and maybe he understands me a little bit more. It would have been great if from the beginning there wasn't a gag order, or there was some way that we could have had more information or candid conversation throughout with them. But that's just not how this cookie crumbled for us.
Yeah. Something else I was thinking about, because I don't think I've talked to you since this stuff came out. With Washington State University, like there were all these public reports that are out now of women who were afraid of Brian Koberger. People who worked with him at the university, like other doctoral students, that kind of thing. And I talked to like a couple of people before, and I talked to some people in Pennsylvania.
See, he says his name now, but he didn't say when the killer. That's my point. He doesn't have a problem saying Brian Koberger when I talk to yada, 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 but he doesn't have a problem saying his name in another sentence, but not when he was talking about the killer.
Women who had stories about him, but I guess I didn't realize how widespread it was until all of those reports were released. Like I had no idea that it was so many women. Did that come as a surprise to you too?
Yeah. It didn't come as a surprise to me necessarily that he wasn't well liked or that he did not integrate well. But it came as a surprise to me to hear that there were so many formal complaints. Because for me, my next question when I see that is, damn, and how many informal complaints were there, right? How many, women or men, it seems like specifically more geared towards women, just had a bad experience and just didn't report it, because that happens way more often than an actual formal report. So it's actually insane that his behavior was so comically bad that he couldn't even get to a month of trying to pretend to be like a normal human being without being wildly inappropriate and offensive, and literally just giving the vibe like how many people in the document said that he would spatially trap them. And that's not a normal behavior. How many people, what was the term that they used when they would say he would like basically held them hostage in a conversation? These aren't normal behaviors. And like he couldn't even fake it for a month. What a joke, dude. Like, yikes.
Well, I was just thinking about too, like the women who thought they saw him outside their like apartments and stuff, you know? I mean, like that's really scary.
Right. Where it's like, and it sucks because this is a little weird, but like the law is so written that there's not much proactively that you can do. Everything is reactive, right? So those people could have gone to the police and said, I think that, defendant or, inmate 163214 was outside my apartment last night. And I guarantee you, nothing would have happened to him. Even if they had investigated him, even if they had questioned him, nothing would have happened to him because it's not illegal to stand outside someone's house, right? Like, so just so awful that the laws are written, especially around stalking, and especially around, creepy behavior, that they're so reactive instead of being proactive. Yeah, just insane to me that it takes something physical happening before.
Wait a minute. These people are not reading the same documents I'm reading or you are reading because there was no stalking. The ISPD in the God. The ISPD, the Idaho State Police and Moscow PD, in the post-conference on his sentencing said there was no stalking. They must have missed that memo, or they must have missed that stream. They must have missed that live. There was no stalking. She must be as confused. This is embarrassing. I feel sad for her.
Honestly, even a formal police report can never even be made.
Yeah, and all those reports that came out, did they give you, when you had your meeting, did they give you any indication, like, is there a lot more to come, or is it sort of like, most of everything's been released at this point, or do you sort of have to be on guard for more?
Yeah, I think that there's still quite a bit more. So I know from the city of Moscow that they said it's going to be months before everything comes out. I mean, at the pace that the courts are going, it's going to be years. As we're sitting 3 months out, and we've gotten 17 documents. So that's a very, very slow snail pace there. We haven't really seen anything out of Pennsylvania. We haven't seen it.
When was this interview done? Was this interview done right after sentencing? Because there are a boatload of documents that were just released. So I don't think this was probably in the last week or so, in my humble opinion. Does anybody know that when he really sat down and interviewed with her?
Anything out of the FBI. So I know that there's still more. I don't know how substantial that more is going to be or not.
What did you think about, so, you mentioned like stuff slowly coming out of the judges unsealing documents too. And some of the more recent ones were like the witness lists for the defense and the prosecution. And there's a bunch of headlines about this. People have written about it, but Brian Koberger's sister.
Yes, Pennsylvania, there are documents. Remember, if you go to Justice for All, under Justice for All, there is a list of, right here, the state of Commonwealth, that is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Koberger. There are documents here that all the ones that have been released for Pennsylvania, but there are more. There are more documents that they will release in due time. I don't know when they're going to release these, but they will eventually. So let's go back to this and finish watching this interview real quick.
Was on the prosecution list. I mean, did that surprise you? Do you know did they say anything about that? Like what she may have been, I don't know why that was.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Somewhere along the line, I asked about it, and this was before the gag order was even lifted, and I didn't ask for specifics, but they didn't give me her name at the time. Just that it was in regards to one of the sisters having knowledge or having seen him with the weapon itself, because the knife that he bought on his parents' Amazon account. So that doesn't really surprise me, especially because I didn't really see anywhere that the defense was trying to argue that he didn't own the knife, that he didn't purchase it. They tried to say that his click history shouldn't be included because.
Oh, that's a good catch. Yes, she did say October the 6th. She said she sat down for a meeting with them, sat across the table from them, and that was on the 6th. So that was approximately, let's just say, I don't know, let's give her a benefit of the doubt, maybe 10 days ago. There has been a slew of documents, a slew of information, a slew of autopsy description. And if you have not gone to Justice for All under Brian Koberger, you will see that I have added the new state's exhibit list evidence, autopsy descriptions, because a lot of people overseas were saying they couldn't click on the links, they couldn't access the documents, but they can get here at the website to see these documents. So this exhibit list that was released and unredacted, unsealed, actually shows all 28 pages of all the detailed photographs, all the detailed reports. They can't give the pictures. This was just audio and video, documents, maps, presentations, and the physical evidence that they had that they were going to tee up to share. And in this document, there are autopsy descriptions and names of people that they did, excuse me, I got hiccups, that they did swab, or the evidence they collected from cigarette butts and of that nature. So there were names on here that we had never seen before, ever, and a lot of the information that was given. So let's watch the rest of this. I'll stop interrupting. Let me pop it up here on the screen.
Getting off track, I apologize.
No.
But it didn't really surprise me seeing her on that list.
Yeah, I guess it didn't surprise me either. I wondered if they were going to use, her to say like, oh, because I think they shared an Amazon account. So like maybe to narrow down, like, you're not the one who ordered these things, to kind of like process of elimination kind of thing. But I'm not really sure.
And I mean, I'll also even say too, I'm not even sure that was entirely needed, because when he purchased the knife,
let's just stop right here. I have to. Sorry, guys. Spicy Phoenix is about to be on the fly because I'm going to tell you. Let me go over. In case you never know, they could be probably watching this stream. Who knows? I know that one of their family members that they deny watched my stream until I had to block her because she went freaking... Never mind. I'll save that for another day. Now let me open the Moscow Police Department download that I have that was released. All these are public documents, folks. And let me show you what Moscow said and I've got it in another stream, but I'm going to show you live on the fly because this is a live dig Monday, and I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look for 733 because I have it ingrained in my head. 733 evidence. Okay, I'm about to give you a Phoenix fireball. Are you ready? I want to make sure everybody knows about this and then go share this with the goddamn world because I am tired of hearing about this.
Feel the heat. Truth ignites us from inside. Hear the roar. We'll never run. We'll never hide. Phoenix drops fireballs of truth. Flames that scorch the darkest roof. Watch deception burn away. Feel the dawn of honest day. Rise again with wings of flame. We will never be the same. Phoenix fireballs of truth. We rise. We rise.
All right. Now that we're all here and paying attention in class, let me just blow this up a little bit for you because I'm so sick and tired of hearing this crap that they have not produced yet in evidence. If Mr. Brian C., my favorite picture that I love to share with everyone. Come on, which one is it? You guys should know by now. Shit, this gets old. It gets really old, folks. If Brian Koberger, aka Houdini, did this, I want to see the fucking evidence. Excuse me for those tuning in with small kids. I apologize. I want to see the freaking evidence, please. I'm going to make this as big as I can. Make sure you tip your host because I give you the truth, the facts, the evidence. Now, Brett Payne wrote this document, 6/13/2023, sequence number 208, in the Moscow Police Reports. He says, on Tuesday, June 13th, that's almost 6 months after the arrest of Brian Koberger, Darren Gilbertson from ISP, that is the Idaho State Police, provided me with 3 packages he obtained by ordering the items from Amazon. And what does he say he ordered? Okay. Item 733, the K-bar knife. Item 734, K-bar sharpener. Item 735, vegan supplements. 3 packages. 3 packages the Idaho State Police bought from Amazon. He stated he purchased these items in the same fashion that Koberger allegedly purchased. Okay? Now, did they find a K-bar knife in Brian Koberger's documents? Well, let's go over to the website, Justice for All. Let's go over to Pennsylvania. Let's see the exhibits that they took into inventory from his home residence. Now, they say they find a what? A knife. They don't say what kind of knife, but they say, hey guys, we found a knife from the 119 Lambston Drive. Okay, got it. And this is where common sense comes to play in any case. They found a little Wesson pocket knife. Looky here. They find a pocket knife. Okay, that's 2 knives. All right. They find a 22 Gen 5 40 caliber gun, a Glock 22. That's typically, well, I'll skip that part. You guys can figure that one out. So they have these knives, they have a gun, they have all this other stuff. And I guarantee you 150% they would have tested all these things they took off of his personal belongings from the search. Now, with that being said, I could take this one step further and I could tell you all a huge Phoenix fireball that someone has not talked about yet that I will talk about right now. Some people just don't get it. There is, let me pull it up, and you go back to the website that I built for it. You go, and I'm going to download this PDF, and I'm going to open this PDF, and I'm going to show you where it says knife. Oh, I've got to learn how to spell first. Knife. Okay, let's see what the state was going to present it court. Evidence. Evidence. This is the state's exhibit. The kitchen knife found in the ping pong beer table. Okay, so they were going to present some type of evidence, maybe because they knew that perhaps Ann Taylor would have brought it up in court. Well, there was a knife on the ping pong table with possible blood by it. And I'm going to take it one step closer because I'm going to tell you guys, we've been fed a bunch of bullshit. I'm tired of it. That is the only knife. That is the only knife other than the knife sheath on the bed that is mentioned. That is the only knife. But they do mention, what does it say right here? K-bar. Whoops, I didn't mean to highlight all that. Hold on. They do mention K-bar knife and sheath sample. Guys, that's the one they bought. That's the one they bought. What the frick is up with this? They had a name. They were trying to make it work. They were trying to make it fit. But let me tell you, what was the one thing that I showed you the other day from MPD? Does anybody remember? Anybody remember this? I'll wait. There was something in evidence that I have been talking about for a long time. And it is a small fixed blade knife. And it is a Kershaw knife that was found at 1122 King Road, 11-16-22. Now, tell me, why did that Kershaw knife never show up on the state's exhibit in any of their exhibit? You can go ahead, go over there, go see if you can find a Kershaw knife. Why is this knife never mentioned again, although MPD logs it in as evidence? Please do tell me why they are omitting this Kershaw knife. Why? Why? Because they did say they found the steak knife, remember? Yeah, they did. We got the steak knife, we got the knife sheath, and we actually found some type of Kershaw knife. A Kershaw knife that probably belongs, in my humble opinion, I'm no expert, but I'm just pointing this out. That Kershaw knife probably fits in this knife sheath. In my humble opinion, that is all alleged and all pure speculation, but that would make sense to me. Now, let's try to finish the rest of this interview, because somebody needs to be telling them, hey, wait a minute, there might be somebody else involved here that you need to go back and take a look at.
What he actually did is on his debit card, he purchased a gift card, I think for $120. He immediately turned around, added the gift card to his parents' Amazon account. He bought the K-bar knife with the sheath, the sharpener, and a bunch of vegan supplements. At the time that he was arrested, when they seized his car, the same exact vegan supplements that he purchased on Amazon with the gift card in the exact same order as the K-bar knife were in the trunk of his car.
Now I'm going to go back.
The defense was trying to argue that he didn't own the knife, that he didn't purchase it. They tried to say.
Now, in my humble opinion, I will stop this. I will stop this only to say, are you trying to tell me that the god darn FBI didn't test all the weapons seized in his possession and test DNA on these weapons? You're telling me that they did such a horrible job that they didn't test any of his weapons to see if that knife had any DNA, any of the other knives that they collected? Yeah, he had 3 Glock magazines. Do you mean to tell me they didn't test anything like that? Because I'll go back to it once again, y'all. I'll go back to the state's exhibit, and there was no Glock, no freaking gun in any of this. Nothing. Oh, the only thing with gun in it is Shane Gunderson's body camera. That's it. And if I, a nobody, could put this together and think logically and contrarian thinking and see through all the BS, why can't this family sit down and work together like they said they had to go to work as soon as they learned all this? Why?
Say that his click history shouldn't be included because getting off track. I apologize.
No,
But it didn't really surprise me seeing her on that list.
yeah, I guess it didn't surprise me either. I wondered if they were going to use, her to say like, oh, because I think they shared an Amazon account. So like maybe to narrow down, like you're not the one who ordered these things, to kind of like process of elimination kind of thing. But I'm not really sure.
And I mean, I'll also even say too, I'm not even sure that that was entirely needed, because when he purchased the knife, what he actually did is on his debit card, he purchased a gift card, I think for $120. He immediately turned around, added the gift card to his parents' Amazon account. He bought the K-bar knife with the sheath, the sharpener, and a bunch of vegan supplements. At the time that he was arrested, when they seized his car, the same exact vegan supplements that he purchased on Amazon with the gift card in the exact same order as a K-bar knife were in the trunk of his car. So, yes, well, it's stronger to have an eyewitness that says, I saw him physically hold it. And I'm not saying that's what she would have testified to, but while I get that that's stronger, I don't even think it was needed.
And just my last thing, and this might still be too fresh to talk about, but I just like I always think I started thinking about it when you gave your victim impact statement. And just with all the getting to know your parents and feeling like I know Kaylee in a way just through you guys and all of the videos and photos. Like I just always want I don't know, I see such you've already made such a difference in the world, and I just wonder, have you thought more about like how you want Kaylee's legacy to live on, what part you'll play in that? Like, and I know that takes time, but I didn't know if there was something in particular that you were sort of thinking about at this point.
Yeah, so I got about 1,000 ideas. But my mom and I have some awesome women behind us. And they've really been kind of rallying around us, trying to help us sort through a lot of these thoughts. And something that is really important to both me and my mom is that, oh, I apologize. Kaylee would have done a lot of really good things in the world. And it's just a fact. and she would have provided a lot more light to this world than she ever took. So the way I see it is there's an imbalance of the scales because she didn't get to give that light in the way that I know she would have. So my mom and I have kind of thought about creating something where we can give back specifically right now to the community that helped raise Kaylee, right? Helped make her who she was, in a way to kind of restore that balance of light, right? There will never be a replacement for Kaylee. And anything we ever do will pale in comparison to what she is capable of. But I think we got to try, I think that we got to try to kind of right that injustice that happened, not to us necessarily, but to the world who would have experienced, what she had to give to it. And in a way of, just kind of getting up and doing our best. So we're still really sorting through those details there. Sorry. And I'm excited to get there, but I'm also really excited at the prospect of having the time to do it and be really, really thoughtful about it. And then for me, something that's I need to do for me, and I've been doing it for a while now, is basically put forth everything, all of the documentation, all of the photos, all of the anyone who will ever talk to me, everything, in a central database. And that is where, for me, Kaylee gets to live, right? Like that is me collecting all of these pieces of this part of her story in one place and bringing her home. And it's something that is probably going to take me a really, really long time, but I'm okay with that because I know at the end when I sit back, this will be, almost like an encyclopedia of sorts that just has, all of the answers and all of the pieces and hopefully enough pieces to the point where, it all comes together and it all makes sense in my head one day.
You
Yeah,
mean in
I
terms
bet.
of the murders?
Yeah, in terms of, understanding what was the beginning of the end, in terms of understanding the gravity and the weight of what happened, because you can't shy away from it, right? We shy away from it and we sugarcoat it and we take the bits and pieces of it that are digestible and we feed them to the public. But no one actually understands how sick this guy is. And it's not my job to shy away from it because Kaylee had to live it. The least I can do is be able to understand it for her, to be able to be, an earthside person that, can grasp and understand, what she went through and what she endured.
So you want to get the story of what really happened, basically, and get it all kind of in one place.
Everything.
Instead of the bits and pieces that we kind of have,
Yeah, and I'm also really passionate about this because there's still to this day so many conspiracies online. It's disgusting, right? And if I'm just being frank with you as my friend, I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm so sick of it, I could puke. So for me to be able to put myself in a position where, maybe I don't share, hey, this is how wrong you are, XYZ, but to have that, be armed with that knowledge of here's why this doesn't work. Think, 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 think. Nope, you're wrong here. Nope, you're wrong here. I think it'd be so valuable. And if I could ever get to a point where, I could create something that's almost like a timepiece capsule collection where 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, people are going to want to know what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't have lived through this. Let me be the first source that tells them what happened to my sisters, so that they're not going to 4chan or to Reddit or to TikTok and, say, oh my gosh, did you ever hear about the tunnels? Oh my God, did you hear it was a cover up? It was a frame job. Like, it feels so wrong to have so many of those things exist and be free for consumption and so widely consumed. I can't even really articulate how it makes you feel being on the other side of it. But one day, if I could ever get there, it's the key to all this. If I could ever get anywhere, is.
So here's the deal. You guys can go finish watching this interview, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to leave this one thought here. I was going to give you a little bit more, but I'll save it for later on my Idaho 4 stream live for the afternoons. My 11 o'clock is going to be focused on other things. But let me say this. I can't watch much more of that. You want to do something for Kaylee? Go find out from the prosecuting office. Hey, Moscow Police Department logged in a Kershaw knife. Did you guys investigate to see if there's any DNA, any blood on it, whose fingerprints were on it? Did you guys do any investigative work on item number 61 that's logged in on 11/16/22? How about that for starters? Because it sure wasn't on the exhibit list that the state was going to prosecute across. Hello? Why don't you start there for some little bit of truth and justice and see maybe what they respond to then? Let's see the investigative side. Let's see the lab evidence. Let's see all that first. That's number one, because that was what? That was what? 3 days after the investigation, they went back to the house to log in this knife? Yes, folks. 3 days later, they went back. Well, 2, if you want to look at it that way. They went back. But what was the real investigation about? Have any of you read the documents? I'm going to give you a little bit more on, I messed up. I made a mistake. And when I say I made a mistake, I'll own up to my own mistake. But I'll tell you this much. If you are enjoying my channel and liking my stream, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Because later on, I was wrong about Koberger. That's my stream for today. I was wrong about Koberger. Make sure you all hit the thumbs up. Make sure you all notify me. Hit that notify button right here so that you don't miss this next stream to find out why I was so wrong. And as always, you guys are the best in this stream. We are the best on YouTube stream. We bring receipts. We don't talk a bunch of bullshit. We don't give you a lot of rumors. We don't give you a lot of misinformation. I'm here telling you the facts. Everyone be well. Enjoy your day. Until 3:45 Pacific Standard Time.
They hide the truth beneath a mountain of lies. But the fire inside us can't be buried forever.
They pile up falsehoods, burying our cries. One by one we dig where the evidence lies. Nesters in the shadows, piecing every clue. Shining light on secrets that they never wanted you to view. Smoke and mirrors crumble under our gaze. We won't back down, we're done with their maze. The ops unravel, media feeding gloom. Kids didn't deserve to die, their story needs room. No proof, no confession, plea deals won't suffice. We're taking back possession of the one thing that's right. Truth hanging, rising from the ashes of their lies. Fireballs ready to drop across the looted skies. We'll lift the veil, ignite the spark of justice. Right. Stand case by case and bring the truth to light. Whispers in the corridors, they thought we'd look away, but every hidden thread unravels when we slay their charade. No more spin from their headlines, no more silence cries. We're the voice of those forgotten, watch their empire collide. Truce a phoenix feather rising in the flames. We'll trace every lead, break their iron chains. Oh, break their iron chains! Phoenix rising, watch us light the sky. Truth's the weapon they can never justify. One case at a time, we claim what's ours to fight. Rising up together, set the world alight.
This is just the beginning. The Phoenix will never